Hi folks, glad to see you came back for part 2 of this navigation video on the myths of pacing beads and pace count. Okay, where we left off in part 1 was the field experiments that I've done in the past with others, and they're enjoyable to do, and they're very enlightening. But as I had said, we had sent one person out. They set 5 points. They'd go out like 600 yards and blaze a spot, and then they'd go 400 yards some other direction, blaze a spot, 500 another, back and forth like that. And they'd blaze 5 spots, and then they'd work their own trail that they basically they're making a map in their notebook and recording their pace counts and in what direction, north, south, southeast, southwest, whatever. And then they reverse that and they come back and see how close they come back to their starting point. And then when they get back, they give their notebook to one of 3 other participants, and that person, they take those notes and the pace counts that those people use. Now they each have their own pace count. We've already established each other's pace counts. It doesn't matter what your pace count is. If your pace count is 50 and mine's 65, doesn't matter, because you're measuring with these by yards, not by your paces. You're using paces, your paces, to determine what is 100 yards. See what I'm saying? Okay, so they take that notebook and they strike out from there based on the notes in that notebook and the pace counts or the distances. And they record in their own notebook how close they came to the blazes of the first person. And they get out to the end, record where they were and how far away from that blaze they ended up. They reverse it and they come back. And then when they get back to the starting point, they don't alter their path or their pace count to get to the starting point, to go over to a starting point. And we make the starting point so it's not that obvious. It's a small area. We don't have a bunch of big flags or anything so that they can go, oh, there it is over there, so they turn and head for that. No. It's going to be hard for them to see. It'll be no more than a blaze like this little ribbon. It's amazing how taking those pace counts, writing it out in the book, creating a simple map, how far off you are. I've had people come in and be as much. Now this is crazy. And no, I'm not talking about dummies here. I'm talking about people that have been in the outdoors most of their lives. And they're people that I've never known to get lost. Come in and be anywhere from 25 to 150 yards away from the starting point. These put you in a general location. They are not exact. This is not a GPS. This will not put you right back to point A. You use this point A to point B to point C to point D, and you yourself, without using somebody else's counts, you yourself coming back will not end up exactly where you started. If you're breaking trail through unimproved, unmarked, variable terrain, all your pace counting experience and everything notwithstanding, because you do not have, there may be somebody out there in the world that does, but most of us, all of us as far as I'm concerned, do not have the ability to remember every time you moved more than 3 feet off of a direct direction. None of us have the ability to remember what tree they went around instead of on the right instead of on the left. None of us can remember every single mud puddle, whether we went over it, around it, left or right. Every one of those variances affect your pace count. If you go more than 3 feet to the left or to the right, you've already thrown the pace count off. Because you don't know where that, when you're coming back, you're seeing it all in reverse. All you know is your pace count. Now think in your mind. You tell yourself, oh, I remember that big pine tree. I went around the right of it. So you go around the right of it. Well, no, you're coming back. So you should have gone around on the left because that's the side you came around the first time. It's too easy to get mixed up and throw your pace count way off. And I mean way off. You can throw your pace count off so easily. Go out, make yourself a set of pace beads, and do some pace counting. Now, it was easy in school, in elementary school, to count to 100 when the teacher would say, in front of the whole class, you count to 100, and you sit there, and that's all you had to do. That's all you had to think about is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's nothing distracting you. There's nothing else. It's just you counting. Try to do that with these. Try to hike through the woods, and you're counting your paces. 1, 2, 3, up to 100. Now, or let's say 65. You're going to count your paces up to 65, then move a bead down because that's 100 yards. Try to keep your mind on that. If you're walking along and then all of a sudden, oh, what's that? There's a timber wolf. And you get curious. Oh, I'm like digging the camera out and you take some pictures and then you go, and you start walking a little ways and you go, got it. What was my pace count? Where was I? You can't start over with this. There's no rewind. There's no undo. If you threw your pace count off, it's off, period. That's all there is to it. It's off. You're off. You're lost. You lost that pace at least. Don't become dependent on these. Go out, practice with them in a very well-known area where you're familiar with all the terrain, all the ground. Go out and practice with them. Find out how all the different variances are going to affect your use of pace beads. Look at a lot of the videos that are out there on how you can use these in conjunction with a map and with a compass or by themselves. And I know people say, well, Lewis and Clark, they mapped their whole expedition with pace beads. They did not. That is not true. They used pace beads, but not for their entire expedition. They used them when they were crossing prairie. They used them when they were they used these on the boats when they were coming up the Missouri and they used them to measure the nautical miles, and those were just estimates. They did not use these when they were crossing in what they consider encumbered terrain, like the Rocky Mountains, where they were going around and up and over and around things because they could not write. They'd have to write volumes that thick of every tree they went around, on what side of the tree they went around, and every boulder they went around, to make the pacing beads accurate, or as accurate as possible. But it still comes down to the fact that these are nothing but averages, and they're going to put you in the general vicinity. Now, when we did our exercises, what it'll do is it'll put you in the vicinity of the starting point. Now, the other participants, they get away from it, so that you can't see them standing there and say, well, there's starting point. You have to find the starting point. And I've done it dozens and dozens of times and always came back off. And the only thing you can do is you get to the last pace count per the notes, and you stop there and you look around and you go, well, I can't find my starting point. I can't see it. You have to start walking in a spiral. Just start walking a little farther out, until all of a sudden, there it is there. I can see the blaze over there. It was 75 feet away. But it's all brush. I would never have seen it if I hadn't done that. It put you in the proximity of your starting point. It won't put you on your starting point. If people say all you need is a map in these and it'll put you exactly back to your starting point, that's a misnomer. It's a myth. If they say that you can use these and a compass without a map, and these will put you right on your starting points or any one of your blazes, that's a misnomer. That's a myth. Will it happen on occasion? Sure. Because it may be a nice clear trail. You can't get mistaken. You can't deviate. You can't add yardage. But always remember, these are averages. These aren't actual. And when I'm outdoors, I like using these for the fun of it. I've actually made up outdoor challenges using pace count beads, you know. You find this landmark and you head 230 degrees off that landmark for 240 yards, and there's something sitting there. Go get that and bring it back. That's a good challenge for people to go out and see where they can use these, where you can use them to mark things like a cache or a special little site somewhere. But that's from a short distance, from an absolute known landmark that doesn't change. So they have a very good purpose for that. So I hope that helps you folks out a little bit, gives you a little extra knowledge about pace beads, their value, and please, don't take my word for it. As I said, make yourself a set. There's all kinds of videos on how to make them, but I think you can figure it out. It's pretty easy. Just a couple of knots with beads in between them, and make sure that they don't slide too easy. You want them to stay up or down. Make yourself a set. Go out and use them. Don't take my word for it. Don't take anybody else's YouTube video word for it. I beg you, don't, on these, put faith in them without going out and trying it yourself. I don't want to see you guys lost out there. I don't want to see you that disappointed. Make a set, practice with it in a known area, and have fun doing it, okay? Just get out there and have some fun doing it. So that's Stye's take on a navigation issue, pace count beads. I'm not going to probably do a video of actually putting them into practice out here. I've done it so many times in the past, and it's not something that I teach as a navigation tool. I talk about them at camp. I share that with my clients, but it's pretty much so what I've just shared with you. And they get to make a set. They get to go out there and play with them in a known area. So that's it for today, folks. This is Stye North. I'm so glad that you came along for this two-part video. I'll try to keep them coming. I'm out here at base camp almost all the time now, so I'll be fitting in some more bushcrafting videos and just some, well, Stye stories. Everybody wants Stye stories, so I'll probably get a few of those done. And then always keep your eyes open for the someday shout-outs. So there you are, folks. This is Stye North. I'm checking out for now. Glad you came out to Wilderness Thriving Fundamentals with us. Check our webpage out. Love to see you folks out here. Last-minute bookings, if you get a hold of us, and we might have a last-minute booking that we could squeeze you in. We'll give you a special discount even. So, from all of us, Big Jim, Rory, Stye, you all have a nice day. Get out there and camp and do it safe. Bye, folks.